thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. We have very active lifestyles. It's not all wandering the countryside aimlessly or scaring passing motorists. And we all love a good cup of joe. And there's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. Bold, robust, delicious. It's coffee that can wake the dead. With over a dozen different roasts and flavors, Deadly Grounds can satisfy the most finicky of coffee addicts. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Persons under 18 will not be admitted.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everybody. You're watching Still Toking with. My name is Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard, I guess. We have an awesome show scheduled for you, as always. And with us is Benjamin. Wait, you're not Benjamin.
No, I pushed him out.
Ben, you aged.
Hey, watch it, you.
You've aged, man. What the fuck?
Well, that's what happens when Ben's around.
Great to have you, Bill. And
it's good to have you guys.
Same here, Jeffrey.
Jeff.
Happy Wednesday. I'm looking forward
happy
to this.
Wednesday.
We had the pleasure of meeting our guest last year at a con. I fell in love with his work. I consider this guy an upcomer in the artist community. He's going to do some wonderful things, and I can't wait to start digging into his head. So let's bring him in. Daniel Macaluso.
All right, everyone. How you doing?
Hey, Daniel.
How's everybody doing this evening?
That's a beautiful piece behind you. That's fantastic.
Thanks very much, man.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, you had that at the show last year.
No, it's one I've done since that show.
Was there one similar? Because I remember the antlers and...
There was just a person, a figure with the staff, with a skull, and antlers were on the skull.
Oh, okay. That's it. Yep.
There you go.
Look at that. That's great.
That one there on the left.
What's your medium?
Oh, yeah. That one right there. Yep.
So I'm an oil painter. All of my work is done in oil.
Ah, fantastic. Nice blending.
Thank you.
That's really good. Oof. Striking.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Nice sharp lines. I love those.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. So we
I
can
tried oil painting once. All I got was greasy.
Yeah. We don't let you near oil paints. So what started you in the beautiful world of art?
It was in 2013. I moved to America to go to university to study. When I finished school when I was 18, I just went straight to work. I didn't go to university back then. I've been working in the travel industry for about 7 years. And by the time I was 25, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in what I was doing. And because I didn't go to university beforehand, I decided it was time now. But I still wanted to get out of England. So I moved to San Francisco and went to the Academy of Art and started studying there.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
Thank you.
And it's just dazzling to see your color palette. It's great.
Yeah, and it varies from painting to painting. I know there are some artists that will just have the exact same palette laid out, and they play it like keys on a piano.
Yeah.
But I have a few staples that I like in each one, but I'm pretty flexible. I like to change them out depending on the color scheme for each painting, and I don't like having all the colors. If there's one that I just think I won't need, I'm not going to lay it out just because.
I like how you use the form of light, a lot of backlight, whatever your key source is, but all your backlights are soft but intense at the same time.
Right.
Brilliant,
It almost looks digital.
Yeah, a few people
The way
think
it's
they're
done,
digital if they don't see the original. And that's just painting a lot of layers, same way you would in Photoshop, but just letting things dry and going over it again and getting the level of refinement that I want.
So what artists inspired you? I'm curious about that.
I'd have to stick with just probably the first person that actually taught me was my teacher, Craig Nelson at the Academy. He was just the man that taught me how to lay paint on a surface. And I didn't, he's like my foundation. So I always think of him as to when I'm painting, but it was funny because I've got this ever-growing list of artists that I look to, because I never thought I was going to be an oil painter when I started. I thought I was going to be a digital concept artist. But I realized that wasn't where I wanted to be. When I discovered is actually Jeff Miracola's YouTube channel, I discovered that oil painting was still a thing. And I was just hooked from there. And then there are lots of contemporary painters that I love in the community that I'm working my way towards getting to. For example, there's a guy called Donato Giancola. I've done a semester with him in his online teaching class. But if you're talking about classics, I love American illustration. I'm a huge Norman Rockwell fan. Just his composition and storytelling. That's a very old piece you're looking at there. It's on ArtStation, which I don't adhere to anymore because of their involvement with AI, and I'm not a fan of that.
Okay. Do you still have prints of that, by the way? Because I want one of those when I see you in Vermont.
Of this one?
Yes.
Yes, I was just doing a count of all my prints, and I've got about 10 of this one left, so I need to do a reorder.
Okay. Well, because I collect Black Panthers, so I need to have that.
Of the one that you just saw?
Yes.
I mean, I can get a print made of that. I actually never got prints of that one done.
Yes, I need a print of that.
Okay.
I need a print of that. Absolutely.
You need a print of that?
Yes,
I do. Room? You have room in there? What are you moving? He's got an incredible room full of Black Panthers. I mean, they're all over the place.
I can see a selection in the background there.
It's incredible.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah, I see some room. Move right where that nice area is. White.
Well, I got one. This guy, right there. Bill Diamond did one. I can move that one.
Yeah, you can. No, that's a striking piece because I like how your focus on the animals are great, but she's in the dark.
She's in the dark.
Yeah.
Oh, and that other piece.
Yeah, in that piece, she's the darkest of all the other elements that are in there. It's really nice.
Thank
your eye tends to go to it.
That was like the last piece I did whilst I was at school. That was the last student painting I did.
And what are you working? If I may ask, what are you working on now? I mean, outside of the piece that's behind you.
So this is actually part of a series that I am working on. I call it the Elemental Shamans Oracle. About 2 years ago, I had been doing a series of portfolio pieces, trying to put a cool portfolio together, but they were all of my images were sort of one-offs. They were just trying to make one cool image after another, and it wasn't cohesive. And I was trying to dig into something that looked like a body of work of mine, a collective work. And just, I thought about, what am I interested in? What do I want to paint? And I liked painting people, animals, landscapes, and designed environments. And I have a serious interest in temples and ancient temples and ruins. I find them fascinating. And so I designed a project that would allow me to paint all of these things. So I'm using the elements of earth, fire, wind, and water to create this project. And for each element, I'm almost treating like a suit in a deck of cards. So each suit will have 2 shamans, an animal character for each one. There'll be an environment and a god character for each thing. And so at the moment, I'm in the middle of painting the last in my earth element, which is the god figure for this series.
Oh, that's a great way of breaking it down. If you get another suit, give it to Jeff. He needs to wear one.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A what? A suit?
A suit, yeah. It's what
like...
suits you, Jeff.
Okay, I get it.
Are you still with us?
Yes.
He's there now.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to make sure he's there. Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Is that all in pencil?
Yeah, that's a Color-Rays Prismacolor pencil. I work a reception day job 3 days a week, and I'm there for about 8 hours. And once I've done everything that needs doing and no one's bothering me, then I have time with my sketchbook to pull up some reference and draw things.
Good. It's always good to have that sketchbook with you because you get inspired by seeing something. Or, I mean, I don't usually carry one when Jeff's around because I'm never inspired, but any other time I am inspired. Yeah, so when he's not there, then I won't draw.
Yeah, I understood.
Okay, I see how it is.
Yes, good. I'm great. You know, I wanted to get you more involved, but I needed to go see the casting director.
Oh yeah. Well, that's an important, character.
Yeah, and that character just walked out the door over there. So we're talking about Ben, just in case you.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
But now the size. Do you work in that size all the time? I mean, it looks like 24 by 30.
Of this painting, this is 20 by 30. This series that I'm working on, it's all 20 by 30 because I wanted to make this as consistent as possible. So everything's on the same type of canvas, on the same substrate, on the same size, so that I can buy this canvas in like bulk, and each time I need to do one, it also sets a parameter of the compositions that I can do. Everything is in that card shape composition, in that card shape alignment. And I'm not thinking, is this one going to be a widescreen? Is this one going to be portrait? Is this going to be landscape? Is this going to be a square shape?
Yeah, no, it gives everybody, especially if they're collecting your art, it gives them a chance to say, I need a bigger wall like Jeff there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's consistent. That's really good. Yeah. That's great. I like that because a lot of times, when I'm painting, I did a series and I like to stay in one size too. Yeah. All the way across the board with that one subject matter, because then it works all together. Otherwise, you're all over the place.
Absolutely, but also these are really labor intensive. They take a lot of effort. I also love doing smaller things in between. Like I'm a big plein air painter whenever I can. I live in Vermont,
all right. So you like the natural light? Yeah, you like the natural light.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, that's me in Santa Cruz right before I moved to Vermont. That was that was like 6 months into the pandemic. My wife and I managed to get a day out in the woods in Santa Cruz, and I got a day of painting. But doing that is brilliant because it's 1 to 2 hours and then it's over. There's
well, because the light's moving on you too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's something that gives me I can go out and enjoy a day of painting. I'm not having to labor over it in terms of all the planning involved and repeat painting sessions. It's just, I'm there, I show up, I rock up, do the thing, and then it's over. If it's good, then I keep it. If it's not, I throw it in the trash and I don't worry about it.
Well, it's nice to have that natural light. Just get out there, do some, quick work based on the light that you have at the time. And the plein air stuff is great. It's nice. It's quick. It's to the point. Gives you a chance to just practice with the natural light.
Yeah, it does.
You got your wife into the woods and you decided to paint?
It's what we do, man. There's not a lot to do here in Vermont. And so we go to the swim holes, we go to the woods, we go to the forests, and just set up. And it makes a day outside profitable because then I can sell those things at a show. And it made my Saturday afternoon. I made money on that Saturday afternoon, technically, when I show up to a show with those paintings.
You failed.
Well, you're in a
Jeff,
beautiful
with that
area
statement.
too,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Let's paint at the Hudson Valley sometime. We'd like to do some plein air stuff here. On Saturdays out of here that they have they do plein air. They do we have a class of two classes going on in one day. So they have 4 hours where they're doing a still painting, natural light, and in the afternoon they usually have a model. So it's a good 4 hours. What can you in a couple of sessions, what can you knock out?
Yep.
How quick is your eye? How quick is your hand? What are you seeing? Are you seeing what's in front of you? It gives them a real chance to kind of work quickly, especially when you're outside. You only have a certain amount of time for that light to be in that one spot.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's good practice. It's good hand coordination. And then when you get chance to get on canvas, all that's in your head. So you know what you saw there. You can use a reference.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, it's good that you do that.
Yeah, and it's how I was taught to paint. My teacher, Craig Nelson, our first classes with him were plein air painting or painting directly from the model. So yeah, that was my foundation.
Good. Go ahead, Jeff.
Right. Well, so not being a painter, I'm interested in the process of creating the piece of art that's behind you. I mean, I would probably take a pencil and draw the whole thing out first.
Yep, that's precisely it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
You don't just take a brush and start painting?
No. That's part of the reason why I love the plein air, because that's when I can do that.
Okay.
Things like my studio work, it takes the first thing is the thumbnail, a little small drawing about this big, and doing as many of those as I can to work out the idea, just to get the stuff out of my head first and get it onto a page. And then I can see whether just how terrible the idea is when the idea is on the page, and then work to make it better. But I just work in a pencil, make it better at this big. And you do that as many times as you need to in order to think, I've got a winning concept here, I've got a winning composition. And then you might take it a step further. You might look for some references. If we're talking about this, I'm looking for references for elk, for stags, for deer, for the environment, for woody landscapes. And then I might do a slightly more refined sketch, still nothing complete, but just a more complete sketch based on the found references that I've gathered. And then for this, I wanted to really hone in on the anatomy, get very specific. So I sculpted a small maquette. Actually, I think I can reach that.
Oh, good. So you're working off some 3D.
I made a small maquette.
3D elements. Oh,
so I have a 3D thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's not perfect, but it is a really good starting point to pose and light how I want it. And then I went out. There's a park near here called Hardak, and I wanted to be there at a certain time when I was going to get this kind of lighting. And I set up at about an hour beforehand with my tripod and camera, just waiting for the light to hit that sweet spot. And as soon as it's there, I'm just punching away, getting the right photos. And then you bring it all home and you assemble that into as refined a drawing as I can do. And then when I'm really happy with the drawing and I think all the values are nailed, then I get into Photoshop and I do a color study. And I want to make sure that for some people, color is no problem. They just assign a color to the value that they've laid in the drawing. It's much more challenging for me, and it's a bit more time consuming. I have to really think it through because I hate double work. I hate doing things twice, which I inevitably do sometimes. But I want as much figured out before I even start putting a brush and paint on the final surface. So I try and figure out the color scheme as much as I can in Photoshop. And then when I'm satisfied at every preparatory level, then I get to painting. And then I just...
No.
The execution is like hopefully the easiest part. The hardest stuff is all the prep work.
Okay. Now, again, not being a painter or an artist at all from what I can see, is there a process of like light paint versus dark paint and what goes on first and what goes on last and the blending process?
Sure. For me personally, I like to stain my canvases with a burnt umber. I just rub it all over first. Once I transfer the drawing onto the canvas, it will be stained completely with a burnt or a raw umber. I let that dry, and then I pick somewhere that I think that will give me information to then react to. So for this, I started with a block-in of the sky, and then there are lots of ways you can go about it. You could block this in with just all the shadows around the chest area and then into the haunches and then the distant trees. You could do that if you wanted, but I tried to treat this as a plein air. And when you have like a vista plein air, I tend to just start with the sky. What's at the back? I always start with the back and come forward. And that's how I would go about it.
So you figure out where your horizon line is that you want?
Yeah, but that would have been done in the drawing. That wouldn't be done here. That would be done that would be done even in the thumbnail composition.
Okay.
Even like that's one of the first things I established, because knowing my horizon line will let me know the perspective of the subject. And am I looking at it from down here? Am I looking down on it from up here? I want that figured out at like stage 1. Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you you obviously know your way around Photoshop because you say you use it for color palettes and stuff like that.
Yep.
Do you do any digital work at all?
I do all of my color studies digitally. I don't show them because they're a tool to give me information. They're not pretty to show. I have done digital work before for commissions that needed to be done fast and that maybe didn't pay very much, and I didn't want to invest the time in an oil painting that would take me to take. And so I've used Photoshop for a couple of jobs for the speed's sake, but for my own work, I don't do any final digital work.
Now, when you're working there and you're figuring out, do you ever take another canvas and just do a little color block work with your colors just to get a sense of how the blending's going to be?
To test my swatches, I don't have a scrap bit of canvas because I actually don't blend. I try and paint in as rigorous tiles of paint. So I lay a stroke down, leave it, lay another stroke down, leave it, and everything builds up in like a mosaic. So there's actually very little blending going on. The only blending on this piece would have been done in the sky, and that would have been after I've put the whole mosaic together and I've sort of finessed each tile of paint together to get like that. And I'm never blending into one another because I'm actually pretty fastidious in how much I like to control color and value. And if I'm blending a lot, then I'm losing that control, and it's sort of, I'm leaving it down to hopefully the mud that comes out of that blending will be what I want, rather than mixing what I want and putting it just down on the surface.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not to say that blending is bad. There are wonderful painters that blend. If you see the work of Scott Waddell, he's a portrait artist. He's all about blending, and his work is amazing. But I can't paint like that in terms of just.
Well, you have your own method. You have your own method and how you physically lay your own work out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a great approach. Every artist has its own approach. However they want to enter it, and prepare for it. And it's always interesting to see how different people adjust to get that final product.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just like throwing paint on and going.
I wish.
That's why we don't invite you.
Well, that's why I'm not a painter.
If I just hurl paint at a canvas, maybe I'd be a richer man. I don't know. I've seen this stuff for quite a bit.
Stuff that's out there, right?
No,
It's like
apparently there is a market for it.
There is a market for it.
It's not one I'm into, but there is a market for it.
Yeah.
So I think you may do well there, Jeff.
Okay.
A little bit ago, you mentioned shows. You actually have 3 shows, actually more than 3, but next one's you're going to be at is Rail City, which is going to be June 24th and 25th. And you may potentially be at Dragon Con, which is August 31st through September 4th in Atlanta.
Yes, fingers crossed on that one.
And Rail City, that's in Vermont, correct?
That is. Also, I'll be at the Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo here in Vermont at the Champlain Valley Expo Center. That's going to be in April, I think on the 24th.
Oh, nice.
I think we're at that one.
Am
I at that one?
We're in Vermont.
Well,
yeah.
Jeff,
Well,
you know where you are going to be, though.
We're going to be at Expo Canna in about 4 weeks. Yep. At the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Looking forward to that. So that's the Expo Canna, and there's also the X Cup, which is a competition.
Yeah, so
I think it's for flower edibles, and the X Cup.
Yeah, and that's
Bill's going to be joining us there as well, and we will be streaming the guest speakers live, right, Leo?
We are.
Yes, we are.
So
you can tune in on that.
Yeah, X Cup is going to be at the Expo Canna at Mohegan Sun. That's March 25th through the 26th. And if you haven't been to Mohegan Sun, definitely, just that destination in itself is a lot of fun to go to.
Absolutely. Bill's going to be there, like I said. So, maybe he'll fit in. Maybe he won't. We'll find out.
We'll have an interesting art with us, too. Did you ever hear of an artist named Basil Gogos?
He sounds familiar.
Okay, Basil was best known for his monster art.
Okay.
From Famous Monsters, but he used a lot of ink and bright colors. Matter of fact, he's pretty much the pioneer in that industry.
Okay.
And he had quite a body of work at that time, and I'm part of his legacy tour. Basil's no longer with us, but we keep his art alive. So it's very striking, all the art that he did. He did wonderful stuff in Army and magazines and early publications, but his monsters pull right off the chart, from the Creature from the Black Lagoon to Frankenstein, and there's a lot of rock stars that has his work. So look him up. A lot of
definitely.
our pieces will be there, and we'll have a lot of his originals there.
This will be at the Rail City or that other one.
Expo Canna.
Expo Canna. Well, any place I'll be there will be a element of Go-Go's legend tour
so
that I'm touring.
You'll have some in Rail City as well, then, I'm sure.
Yep.
Brilliant.
a lot of his lithographs, a couple of originals that will be there. We have a wide range of we have all of anything that's left that's hasn't been picked up by, say, Rob Zombie or
Right.
Kirk Hammett or any of those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So Basil's work. So we
Yeah,
have a lot of
definitely.
his work. Also, with a lot of my work will be there outside of our characters from
Brilliant.
the shows and the movies. So it'll be great for us to catch up together, because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, that'd be
dying to see
fantastic.
your work live,
Thank
not
you.
just
Yeah.
on Memorex.
And we will be at the Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo. That I just had to confirm that. So we'll see you in April.
Excellent. Yeah. I only found out about it. I actually found out about it last year at the Rail City show. Otherwise, I would have been there that April beforehand. But I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's dazzling to see an artist of your scope there. Oh, they got Basil up there. Ah,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Is it Basil or Basil?
It's Basil Gogos, but we've been calling him Basil. We actually sometimes call him Bill because we knew him personally. Now it's just easier, but his fans know him as Basil Gogos.
Basil. Okay. Interesting.
But that's some of your colors are striking. He used a lot of color. Of course, that's how we got to see the monsters in those early years in the 60s. Was his color palette was, and he used inks. I mean, he painted all mediums, all of them. But his work with inks and the fact that he dared to use color where you wouldn't expect color to be. He just used these splash of colors that you would think, oh, why would I do that? Never use yellow over here or purple over here. And he just did, and he got away with it. It was
Brilliant.
that's what pulled out. His use of color and vivid is just unbelievable.
Yeah, you wouldn't think classic monsters would be, bright orange, yellows, and purples.
Oh yeah, he's and a lot of the artists that have, and some of his pieces were in the Rockwell Museum. His famous monster pieces.
I'd love to get over there. Yeah.
Yeah. I've there's another great artist called Mortz Kunstler who worked with Basil at that time, same as James Bama, and I've known all of them.
I love Bama.
And Bama was a good friend of ours too. But you see how he used purples and pinks and the striking whites and the blues, like you wouldn't think of that. And then he just was able to get away with it. And that's what we grew up on was, oh wow, we only saw the monsters in black and white until Basil came along. Now every artist out there that tribute to what he had showed us in his world of monsters. I grew up with him and I got to know him for 40 years. So
I know where I'm hearing him from now. There's a Southern California painter called Eric Gist who paints a lot of monsters. He does a lot of Star Wars and Marvel covers. I listened to podcasts with him and he mentioned Basil Gogos. That's where I know the name from. So that would make sense.
Well, the artists that are today, he's the godfather of that stuff. So, we owe a great debt to him, and it's great to bring this legacy of his work publicly around. Since we don't have him, we get a chance to do that and get a chance to see all these different artists that either knew him or have used that, like you have, that texture of light and understand how light works. And it's great to see that. And that's what makes you have a great eye and understand how the light works for a character, how it works for a painting.
Thank
and
you.
what brings your eye to that. And that's the trick of a great artist.
Thank you very much. I'm working at it.
Yeah. Well, it's a body of work. It's a lifetime of
exactly
of work. It's not something that, that's that development. You get to go through life and saying, oh, and then you look back and like, why did I, go this way? But that's that process. That's a development process that makes you better and better and understand. It's the journey that's much more fun than the actual success of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how many you're doing this Elemental Shaman Series. Do you know how
Yeah.
many pieces are actually going to be a part of that?
I've got the first 20 planned.
The first 20. Okay.
Yeah.
You need
So
more
that's
wall,
what, like,
Jeff.
yeah, I'm going to need more wall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
more
know?
wall, Jeff.
More wall.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got the first, because it's Earth, Fire, Wind, and Water, 4 suits, 5 paintings a suit, 20 paintings.
All right. How many you got done?
I'm working on the 5th right now, so I've got a ways to go.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's not bad.
Well, so that brings us into the question that Benjamin was asking. What are some of your favorite categories to paint? And you mentioned it earlier, and it was it monoliths, Egyptian?
So I've incorporated. So that was one of the last standalone paintings that I did, and I was asking myself, why did I paint this? First of all, I used to live in Egypt, so I just have a connection
really?
to that place
Wow.
anyway. I lived there for about 6 months when I was 19. But I love old temples, and not just because I think they look cool. I think about what they were used for and systems of practice that aren't really with us or are with us in the super minority now. And that's sort of something that I'm exploring for myself. So those subject matters are what I try to incorporate in my own work. But just in terms of subject matters, I have a really broad interest. As I said, these are super labor intensive. So in between them, I love to do smaller things. I love to do portraiture. I love wildlife painting. I love figure painting. I've got a few smaller figure paintings that I've got planned to do at like 9x12, just between these. And
You said figure, right? Not finger? Not
figure, yeah.
painting.
Not
Okay.
finger paintings, yeah.
Okay.
No, that's your category, Jeff.
Yeah, well, I was
your
just checking.
category. But that's almost like how I just relax and have fun, because I just find a bit of reference, and I do a tiny bit of prep work, maybe a day's worth of just figuring out a composition and maybe tweaking my reference a bit, and then I just get to enjoy painting it for a day or so. And it's not stressful. There's not time for doubt to sink in. I'm just doing a fun study of maybe a lioness or a nude figure or a portrait or something like that. And so I have a pretty broad interest, but then I think, no, okay, I've got to put the fun things to the side, and I need to really put my time into the labor intensive stuff.
So what's the best time of day do you like to paint? I mean, of a painting. Do you like the morning? Do you like I know each one has a different time when you paint it, but what's your favorite?
Oh, is it my favorite time to work or my favorite
No,
time
say
of
like
day
I like to paint
to depict?
Yeah, I like to paint scenes that are at the dusk or in the morning. Like your Egyptian one is very morning.
Yeah, well,
the sun just coming up, but hitting that one point.
You want that golden hour, whether it's at the start or the end of the day. That's I mean, the worst
the
time,
magic time. Yeah,
the magic hour. Yeah, I mean, but then I guess there's 3. There's the magic hour, whether it's at the beginning or the end of the day. That you're gonna at the beginning of the day, depending on the environment, you're gonna have that morning dew, that mist. So if you can capture that, then wonderful. Or you're going to get those super long golden, those super long shadows in the evening and the golden light. Or the third option would be overcast, and you're getting that bleak, flat, but you're looking for the pattern in the scene. And those make for great plein airs because the light doesn't change, so you can breathe and take your time.
Right.
Do
you like doing those straight on after you've done your research, or some people take, their tablet and take that picture of that time of day and then they work with it. It seems to me that you'd rather see it for real.
Yeah.
And paint at it at that time.
The reason why that is because when I'm in my studio, I feel compelled to prioritize this stuff instead of doing a long landscape studio piece. I paint plein air because of what I said earlier. That gives me a chance to paint something quick and fast and not worry about it after the fact. I am never bored. I have about 12 things I would like to paint all at once, but I only have 24 hours in the day. A lot of people, they run out of painting ideas. I wish I would sometimes. If I was just a landscape painter, I would be fine with that in a way, because I have so many photo references that I could just pick one or pick a few and make a landscape. But I just haven't chosen for that to be my focus. Or I have a lot of figure references. I've got a lot of wildlife references. I could pick any of those subjects and think, I want to be a wildlife painter. I just want to be a figure painter. But I kind of relegate those things to smaller, fun studies. And then I focus on this as my main work, unless someone commissioned me. I've done a few. I've done some long format portrait commissions recently, and which is why I haven't shown a new one of these in a while, because I've had some portrait commissions that I was working on.
That's good.
Which is great, you know.
Yeah, no, that's what you want.
With these, I have to hope someone buys one. But when someone says, "Here's money directly, paint me this," I'm very happy to do that.
When you find a subject, say it's an animal.
Yeah.
When you see that animal, but it's not in the time reference that you want of the day, do you say, "Oh, that would be good at dusk"? Is that what? And then you play with that.
That's precisely actually what I did
at that time.
Yeah. So I mean, you can. Recently, I did a lioness painting. I just grab her.
You're going to ask him to do a Black Panther, aren't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I figured he was, but
So I had some pretty
just black.
Yeah, I had some pretty flat lit reference of this lioness out in the savannah in Kenya, but I didn't like the light of that. So there we go. The reference to this didn't look like this, but a day's work in Photoshop, I can change the lighting, I can dramatize it, and I can emphasize certain elements, and then I had the lighting scheme that I wanted. So I've got this end of day, as it were, but the reference could have been at noon, with how evenly lit she was. But I wanted to paint her like that, so I manipulate my reference so that then I can just work straight from there.
Well, that gives you that powerful light at that end of the time. Like hunting season's just started and the light's going down. So here we go.
Exactly.
So I'm going to assume that while you were in the UK, because you like the ruins and that kind of stuff, that you've toured a lot of the castles and stuff that are over there.
I've toured a few of them, but I used to be a tour guide, so I used to talk about them a lot.
Okay.
I was a tour guide in London for 3 years, working on the open top buses and doing walking tours and guiding people around. Actually, since that, like I used to tour a lot of old Roman London, because London's nearly 2,000 years old.
Yeah. You mean like over in Bath?
There is over in Bath as well, but London literally has old Roman wall in it from the time of when Hadrian established Londinium. But actually, since then, I've developed my own fascination with Roman history and researched it myself and read a few books and just dug into it myself.
Have you ever had the opportunity or the chance to see any of the Mayan or the Incan ruins or anything like that?
I have. Back in 2009, when I was backpacking, I went through Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Mexico, Guatemala, Mexico, and Costa Rica, and I did the Machu Picchu trek whilst I was in Peru, and saw everything along the way there. And I managed to go to Tikal in Guatemala. That's if you don't know what that is, it's the rebel base in Return of the Jedi. They used Tikal as the site for that.
Well, that's Leo's forte.
Leo, you've got the walker behind you.
You didn't know that, Leo?
I didn't want to interrupt our guest. Matter of fact, Benjamin is saying, "Hey, Leo, where can they find out more about our amazing guests?" So definitely check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. Your website's on there, and can people buy your prints off the website?
You can. I actually need to update my shop. I've I need to get the prints on there, but I've got prints available on there. But if you see any of my work, if you follow me on Instagram, you see any other examples of my work you like, you're welcome to email me at macalusoarts@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to work with you on getting a print made.
Well, you got one that you have to get a print made by April.
Yes, I
that's
do.
when I'm going to see you.
Yeah. I have to get that one
Or
done.
folks, go get a wonderful original from him,
Right?
which is every artist's dream.
It is a buzz when you sell something, I got to say. But I will have all of my work with me available there.
So
Great.
how many original pieces of art do you think you've actually accomplished so far? And do you have a goal?
Well, there's 20 of this series. I've done 5 of these so far. I'm kind of surrounded by my work. I've got shelves around that I just put my plein airs on. I've got I don't know if you can see. All of these have paintings in them. My cupboard has paintings in them. So I've got plenty. I don't know exactly how many.
Well, but it's impossible to actually bring all of your originals to some of these shows. I mean, that's got to be intense.
Yeah, when I said all, I bring my best work with me to the shows, or the stuff that I think would be appropriate for the shows that I go to display. Where I think, you know what, maybe someone will get this at this one, or if I go to another show, I think, do you know what, I don't think that one will do well there. I'll put this one up instead. So I curate it.
If I remember correctly, you had a portfolio book though with you that showed all of your others, even if you didn't have it with you.
I didn't actually have a portfolio book with me. I had all of my prints and my paintings behind me on my pro panels that I wanted to display. Yeah, that's what I had with me. That was because last year was one of my first years of doing conventions and getting a feel for how to do shows. So I've upgraded my booth a bit since we met, but it's been a bit of trial by fire, figuring out how to do conventions and refining my display. Did
you make the little tags yet with the Velcro back that just stick to the wall?
I did. I bought the Velcro. I bought the Velcro and I made the tags.
Yep.
That was one of the first things I did, because sticky back tape doesn't work for hell on the pro panels.
Nope, but Velcro does.
Yep. So thank you for that one.
Fantastic.
What do you use?
Huh?
What is the Velcro for?
It's to put the names and the prices of the paintings on the pro panels, so that you're not trying to fuss about the tape to stick them down properly.
You're not trying to stick tacks in it and all this kind of stuff. It just sticks to the carpet, basically.
Exactly.
When I was doing my woodworking shows, I that's what I kind of figured out. I made all little tags with descriptions and prices that you could. So no matter how you set it up, you can just put it where you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Which worked really, really well.
Perfect.
Well,
so
conventions are.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say conventions are a really good outlet for an artist of your caliber, for them to get a chance to really see your work, talk to you, and that's where you build that fan base.
Yeah. It's a really great opportunity to meet and talk with people at those shows and try and make a personal connection. And that's because online sales are very hard, but when I'm able to talk to people, then they're much more inclined to get things from me, which is great.
Yeah, that doesn't work well for me and Ben. Well, sometimes we talk to people and they just kind of mosey on.
Okay.
I haven't learned that trick yet.
What, how to mosey on?
Only when you talk.
Yeah, you're right.
So
all right, Leo's going to have his question, because he always has that question, and I'm curious of what the answer is going to be.
Well, I won't get to that question yet. First, I was going to ask.
Okay.
So your reference model. Now, did you create that for the stag?
Yep. This I after looking at as many images of stags and elks, I sculpted this out of Sculpey. and I made this. So I put in a bit of time on this just to make sure that I could get the lighting reference that I wanted.
Very cool. Have you thought about doing like 3D printing?
Well,
That
for
takes all the
3D,
fun out of it.
Yeah. It's like using a CNC machine for woodworking.
yeah,
Well, you still got to design the model, you know?
yeah. Well, so with that, I wouldn't consider myself a sculptor. I would say that I am using this to achieve this as a final product. And for 3D printing, I think I'd have to get very proficient in something like Maya or ZBrush, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I've got friends that are amazing in it, but I can only get good at so many things, and or I've got my sculpting down to a level where it's useful to glean information for my final work. But yeah, I've tried a few 3D programs, and I need more time to dig into that before the 3D printing.
Yeah, apparently
Yeah,
Blender's come a long way.
Yeah, I'd rather just build it from scratch and sculpt it than play with those things that adjust for you.
Right. Well, like I said, laser cutters and the CNC machines and stuff that people use for woodworking, in my opinion, just takes the art out of it.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, I know digital sculptors, and if I was to collaborate with one, and I would say, "Hey, man, I'm doing this project. Is there any chance you could sculpt this thing in ZBrush for me, and we'll get it 3D printed, and then I can paint from it?" If that happened to happen, wonderful. The better reference for me, the better. And he's an amazing sculptor. He can sculpt with clay and in ZBrush, and he's phenomenal. That's my friend Ryan Ferreira, who works still in California. But in that scenario, no problem. We'd definitely do that.
Wow.
So the question
Rick Baker works in ZBrush a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He's really good at it.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry, Leo.
Oh, no worries. No worries. So the question I always ask is what do you dork out about? So when you're not painting, like what do you find yourself doing? We know you go hiking, but do you is there a show you love? You play video games? What do you do?
My main interests revolve. I mean, I think about painting constantly, but my main interests revolve around travel, audiobooks, and training, working out in the gym. Those are my passions, as it were. I love reading. I don't have a lot of time for it. So in the last few years, I have just been consuming audiobooks to listen to the things that I want. And I listen to books constantly whilst I'm working. I work out 6 days a week. I love doing that. It's fun. It's therapeutic. It's exhausting, but it makes me feel good. And I'm always planning a trip. I can't travel every year. I don't, funds are always limited, but I have plenty of trips that I design itineraries for that I want to do for me and my wife. So I always want to see. I've seen lots of new places, and I would like to take her to see new places and experience as much as we can. So, and yeah, there are various shows that I like. I'm a big fan of Star Trek. I love the new series. What's it called? Strange
Picard?
New Worlds.
Oh, Strange New World. Yeah, Picard just started also.
Picard. Yeah. So I haven't seen the new season of that yet, but
Strange New Worlds is really good though.
And something that I thought was brilliant about that, how you could enjoy each episode for what it was. So many shows now, it's like watching a 10-hour movie, which is great, but also a bit annoying. I love how they've gone back to that old format of. I don't know if for shows anymore you can say, "Oh, that one's my favorite episode," because they all just blend into one another.
There's a new show that actually is we were talking about it on another show. Reminds me a lot of the Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
The old 70s show.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it, but the format's very similar, and it's Poker Face. It's the writers Ryan Johnson, who did Knives Out. And very similar concept. You have the heroine, she's going from town to town, somebody's chasing her, and she has a special power. Her special power is she can instantly know if somebody's lying or not.
All right.
But even like the credits in the beginning are like the old font and everything like that. So it's a really cool show, really well done.
Well, and each episode is a standalone.
Yep, each episode's a different story, different mystery that goes on that she's trying to solve. So, and you have that wraparound story of somebody's chasing her, so they're always on her heels.
Fantastic. Where can you watch that?
I believe that is Peacock. Yeah, Peacock.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Brilliant.
I think it's and Peacock's free, so it's like 7 episodes I think right now.
Okay.
But yeah, same guy that did Knives Out and the new one there, Glass Onion.
Thank you. Yeah. I'll see if I can see that.
Totally.
Yeah, they did kind of get away from those standalone episodes. For a guy like me with the attention span of a puppy, you gotta it's what like.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's great. Sometimes you can get into something and it's like, what happens next? What happens next? But it's almost like they're trying to hook you into something. It's almost like a drug. And it's that.
Well, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's that continuous play. They just roll the next episode after another one, and it's like, you know what? Stop! I don't want to see the next one yet. You want to take a breather. So that's why I like just something you can watch that encapsulates it within the half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is.
Yeah, they hook you. They know exactly what to show you right at the end of the show, so that you watch the next one, and then you fall in love with the show, and then they cancel it.
Yeah,
And then they cancel it. Actually, I've had a chance
exactly before they get to the end.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to sit back and watch the old. Remember the old Outer Limits?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Yeah, and they have it on Roku, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this in like eons, and I remember it so vaguely, but it was really fun to watch something because the stories were very, very good because it was all story work at that time. It wasn't really always about it wasn't about effects or anything. It was just really the writing was really interesting for that time period. So it's fun to go back and see that. There was one I just saw. It was called The Cold Man, and it was or The Frozen Man, either one. And it was William Shatner before he did that. And it was how he went on this trip and came back. And now he went to Mars, but he's cold all the time. And it was an interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in the Twilight Zone too. He did.
Yes, he was.
Twilight Zone.
Yep. It was.
I believe he was on a plane.
Yeah. He was. Yes.
Yep, pretty cool. Yep. So I know you like to travel, Daniel. So what is your ultimate destination?
Not your house.
Where's the without me? Is that what you said?
Yes. Without you.
It's funny to say I don't have one in terms of I know places that I've loved and places where I want to go to next, but there is a unique something wherever you go, and it's what do you want to find now? Do you want to have a Middle Eastern experience? Do you want to dig into the heart of Arabia? Do you want to go to Oman or Egypt? Do you want to have that kind of experience? Do you want to go to the Far East? Do you want to experience Japan? Do you want to dig into that culture? Do you want to go see a Shinto temple? Do you want to go to a Hindu temple in India? Do you want to dig into maybe like that kind of a culture? Do you want to go experience something that it's hard to get because you have to almost scrounge for it. You want to find an Aboriginal culture in Australia and find out something that they know. So it changes depending on what you want to go and find. Do you want to go visit a particular museum? Do you want to go to the Louvre in Paris? Do you want to go to the Hermitage? I think that's in Russia. But it depends on what you're feeling and what you get excited about.
Do you carry
Which
a
can change,
sketchbook with you?
I do. And when I travel, I still have to go plein air painting. But what I've started to use now is casein, because it's a water-based paint, similar to gouache or pick watercolor. And because it dries so fast, I don't have to worry about carrying around a wet oil painting with me, which I have done. I've taken oil a lot with me, but depending on where you go, you might be somewhere remote and have to scrounge around for spirits or mineral spirits, which can be a nightmare to find sometimes.
No,
It sounds
Jeff,
like you've journeyed quite a bit. What's one of your most memorable destinations that you've been to?
Egypt was a big impression on me just because the amount of time I lived there. And when I was there, I cultivated a lot of how I think whilst I was there. But then again, I was there alone. And so there are certain things that you're only going to experience alone. But when you experience something with somebody else, you're going to be hit in another way. So I got to experience like Iceland for the first time with my wife about 5 years ago. And just the things we did there and the things we got to see, had I seen them alone, they would have affected me differently, but I got to experience them with her. And there are things that I had done in other places that I had done before. Like, for example, when I was in New Zealand, I walked on Fox Glacier. It's in the South Island, at the south end of the South Island. And I hitchhiked there from the top end of the South Island. And it was a great day, but I did it by myself, and I did it on an excursion, but I wasn't really involved with anybody there. And so it was beautiful. But then my wife and I got to go walk on a glacier in Iceland, and then we got to have that shared experience. And you're going to connect another way when you get to appreciate a new site with somebody else. So that's going to vary your perception of things. And when I was backpacking back in 2009, I did that for a year, and I was in a different country more or less every month. And by the end, I was exhausted and saturated by things that I had seen. And I was no longer appreciating stuff because I was in sensory overload. And I remember I was in Guatemala in a town called Flores, and there's a lake there, and you can do an island hopping tour for the day. And I remember I was on one of the islands in the middle of the day, and I just thought, it sounds weird, but I was like, I'm looking at another mountain with a lake, and I could have been in 5 other places, and I wasn't appreciating anymore. And so it might be phenomenal, but it depends on the state of mind that you're in, whether how much you're actually taking in.
See, there you go, Jeff. He's getting you all set for your Alaska trip. Now you're going to take a little drawing pad with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that you hit on something that I mean, I've been with my wife for almost 40 years, and all our traveling we do together. And you're right. When you can share that experience with somebody, I think it makes it even more memorable and more powerful.
But are you taking a drawing pad?
Dude, I don't draw.
Well, then this is a good thing.
You know what I mean? I'll take photos. You know what I mean? Well, actually, I can. We'll do this. See, I'm going to Alaska. Ready? Here's my drawing. That's ice.
Nice. Nailed it.
See?
Very cool.
Add a little blue in there. It'll be good, right?
Are you going to go to Denali and see the bears?
Yes.
I deny he all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually going, I think it's a 5-day land on the train.
Yeah.
And then we fly back to Seattle and get on a cruise ship and go back up for another 7.
Amazing. Brilliant.
So it should be fun.
Yeah, you're going to have a brilliant time.
I'm more warm climate personally, but, it's something to see, and it was her choice.
I get it. I wouldn't have chosen Iceland myself when my wife and I went. She was desperate to go, and I was like, okay, well, let's figure it out and let's make it happen. But if it's up to me, I want to be somewhere where it's 80 degrees and above. I love the heat. So
I'm desperate to see you go.
I bet. You want me eaten by a polar bear?
That could be a visual. Yeah.
Right? See? Make a painting of that. There you
A
go.
little bit of splash of red.
I mean, my luck when I go to south, down to the Arctic down there where the penguins are, they'll, if we get attacked by a penguin, that would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Because there ain't none up in Alaska. There's no penguins up there.
No, they hang out in the
There ain't
south.
no,
The
yeah,
Antarctic
there's no
is
penguins up there.
it's the only place you're going to get beaten up by a penguin.
Yeah. Or your
You know what I
waiter,
mean?
whichever comes first.
Or your waiter, yeah.
Oh. So, Leo, you got another show tonight?
I do.
Is it a good one? They're always a good one. You got a
They
guest?
are. Yeah. No guest, but yeah.
What are you chatting about?
Don't know yet.
Oh,
You
just
don't
gonna-
know yet?
Yeah.
You're just gonna wing it, huh?
No, we'll pick some topics beforehand, but it was a busy day at work, so I haven't had a chance to map everything out yet. So went from work, had a quick dinner, then came here.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
A little bit of prep.
Bill, I'm very glad that you were able to jump in. Gives me a fresh.
No, it was
face
great to
look at.
talk art with a pro, because if I talked art with you, I'd be out. Forget it. It'd be over.
Now, wait a minute. I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit here, okay? I can't paint. I can't draw a cat in a stick figure. But I do, and I'm very good at architectural style drawing.
Well, that's true.
That's still drawing.
It's still drawing.
That architectural drawing is amazing.
I mean, I can do your street scenes and the buildings and that kind of stuff. Don't ask me to draw a face because it would look like something out of the Dali Museum.
I love architectural drawing. I mean, do you know Sid Mead, the visual futurist? He designed Blade Runner and Tron and
Right. Yep. I mean, with
It's
me, it was just
architectural
it was
drawings.
a necessity because I used to, have to do all my own architectural plans for when I was building, and so I took a lot of architectural and graphic design kind of courses for that stuff.
Yeah. So that still counts as drawing. You can draw then.
He's quite
Yes.
a good artist, and his woodwork is incredible.
Yeah.
That's just a different kind of art. I mean, I wish I could paint, but I can't. So
I can't sculpt with wood, So.
right.
There you go.
Excellent.
I'm lucky somebody else designed this desk, because otherwise I'd have nothing to draw on. So
Okay, well, when you need a new one, let me know.
absolutely. Thank you.
Well, on that note, we should wrap things up. So I want to thank everybody for watching this fine evening. For me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which, but more importantly, check the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us, for our amazing guest. And speaking of that, Daniel, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Instagram is great. You can find me at Macaluso Arts on Instagram, or my website, macalusoarts.com.
Cool. Jeffrey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go to stilltoken.com. You'll find out everything you need to know about us, or Token with the Dead on Facebook. I don't do that Instagram stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old. I've tried it. I don't understand it, so I don't bother.
You just do the TikTok?
I do TikTok, but I do TikTok mainly so I can just see stupid people doing stupid shit because it's hysterical. You know what I mean? So yeah, go to stilltoken.com and you can give us a follow there, and you'll find out everything that we're doing. Our pinned post. If you want to come and see us, we've got a whole slew of events that are all lined up. As a matter of fact, I had to do my schedule for the summer because I'm actually home for one weekend between June and September.
Oh wow,
we're that busy. So we've got a lot going on. So just go to stilltoken.com and follow us up. We've got some big news that's going to be breaking, which has to do with Red Coral Universe. So watch our pages, watch our social media, and you'll see what that's all about.
Very cool. And don't forget, you're going to be, we are going to be.
That is coming up next month. Yep. You will be there as well.
I will.
Gil will be there as well. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. Those are always cool, fun events.
Cool
You know?
beans. Expo Canna at the
Expo
Mohegan
Canna.
Sun. And Bill, why don't you take us out?
Well, it was great to see an incredible artist, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of this talented man.
Very cool. And where do you like people interacting with you, Bill?
Oh, they can always go to BillDiamondProductions.com or see us on the Bill Diamond Facebook page, and always follow us at wherever or whatever convention we are at.
Nice. And with that, we'll catch you guys later. And Daniel, stay on until the intro is out, please.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Good to
It
meet
was
you
a
all.
pleasure. Awesome stuff.
Thank you, Jeff.